Hi, this is Jeffrey Major from Canopy Claims with a video on exterior sheathing and flood damage. This video addresses damages to exterior sheathing resulting from floodwater. The FEMA adjusters paid for floor sheathing that was saturated by floodwater, but did not pay for exterior sheathing that was saturated by the same floodwater. Not only was the exterior sheathing exposed to the same conditions as other building components that FEMA has agreed to pay for, the exterior sheathing suffered greater damage as tar paper and siding covering the wall sheathing prevented it from being properly dried. The write-your-owns for FEMA instruct their adjusters to limit the use of air movers and dehumidifiers per room or per certain square footage, which may dry the floor sheathing but is not penetrating the wall sheathing to dry it appropriately. So this is a typical building and a kind of detail to show you foundation, footings, foundations, framing, and sheathing. I want you just to quickly pay attention. We're addressing the exterior sheathing. Note that the floor sheathing ends at the top of this rim joist, and the exterior sheathing actually goes lower than the floor sheathing. So when a building is built, in platform construction, the floor framing is in, the floor sheathing is in, and the walls are built on top of the floor sheathing. There's a separate video that addresses the replacement of subfloors and a deficiency, which we won't cover on this video. So when the building is built, exterior sheathing is put on top of it and it goes below the floor sheathing. When a flood comes and the water goes down, it basically saturates the components. This is a water line, so if you looked at the siding of a house where they measure the water line, it's vinyl siding or aluminum siding, and you see where some debris is. That's not a line of water damage and how high water wicks up. So there is a separate video on wicking, not addressing the wicking, just addressing this sheathing that the insurance company is paying for is exactly the same sheathing that's on the outside in most cases. So what we have is the FEMA and FIP adjusters are paying for the trim, they're paying for the flooring, they're paying for drywall, whether they're going up to the ceiling or 4 feet. They're paying for the floor sheathing, but they're not paying for the exterior sheathing. So this is a photograph of wet floor sheathing, and you can see this is a 3/4 inch OSB exterior sheathing, and you can see how it's delaminating and swelling. This is a home where the framing, which is on the walls, has tar paper on the inside of the sheathing. So a dehumidifier or an air mover that sits here is not going to penetrate the tar paper. The tar paper is actually a vapor barrier. It's designed to keep water out of the home. Unfortunately, in this case, where there's siding on the outside of the building and tar paper on the outside of the sheathing, that water that came up and this exterior sheathing that sat in Category 3 salty water that got ruined never really got a chance to dry. And basically what winds up happening is it winds up rotting away, and it'll continue to rot. So the issues are, you have floor sheathing. Insurance company is paying for the floor sheathing. It was wet. There's wall sheathing. It's same amount of water, less ability to dry. And partially why the insurance company is not paying for the exterior sheathing is because it's costly. If there's a brick facade, now you're paying for brick, and you can't go up and say, I'm only going to pay for 4 feet of brick, because when you take that 4 feet out, the rest of the brick falls off. It sits on its own footing or foundation, is built up from there, and has ties into the building. These little metal ties that they use to tie the brick wall into a building, if it's a brick wall, they rust. They were in salt water, and through the electrolysis and the breakdown of that metal, eventually at some point it's going to fail. In this case, if you don't address this exterior sheathing, it is going to rot. It's rotting right now. And as this rots and degrades, then your wall becomes loose. As the wall is cracked and rotted, and the sheathing is rotted, then water gets into it. It freezes, it thaws, it freezes, it thaws, and it pushes the brick out, and then you have a failed brick system. This failure will happen a year from now, maybe sooner, maybe longer, but it will be well beyond when all the adjusters are gone. So this is an example of an NFIP adjuster's estimate where it's a Sandy claim. It's one of our claims we're doing work on, where they remove and replace 3/4-inch plywood CD exterior grade subflooring 100%. So in this room, in the kitchen, they're replacing the subfloor. Hold the price aside, hold that it's really a random plank. It's not 3/4-inch sheathing, but those things hold aside. They're replacing the sheathing. The exterior, they're addressing the exterior by pressure washing the exterior siding 50%, 4 feet up. So what's happening in this claim is they're completely ignoring the exterior sheathing on the house. In order to replace this exterior sheathing, you'd have to replace the siding and remove and replace the railings or anything that's mounted on the siding and any other trims and stuff like that. So in the case that I just quoted the actual claim, they're replacing the subfloor. They're pressure washing the siding, and they're completely ignoring the exterior sheathing, which is going to rot and degrade. So that ends this video. If you have any questions, contact us.